So you're up to date on the markets and on Bob O'Brien. Today's existing home sales report confirms what we already knew, Bill, and that is that there's a housing downturn. But you have an interesting take on that.
Yeah, what often happens when you get that kind of a downturn, Sue, as you know, foreclosures rise, especially those that were financed with exotic mortgage products. These numbers on the foreclosures provided by RealtyTrac, which is a company that may represent an upside to the downturn. They provide a unique opportunity for investors and buyers to acquire properties in foreclosure. Joining us, Jim Saccacio. He's chairman and CEO of RealtyTrac. Thanks for joining us today.
It's my pleasure, Bill. Great to be with you.
How much are foreclosures up right now?
Over last year, from August to August, foreclosures are up 50%.
And is that normal for this kind of a downturn? I assume you've been through other cycles in the housing market in the past. Are we going through a normal upturn in foreclosures here?
We haven't really had the opportunity to participate in the previous down cycles. We're new in this cycle, so we're seeing trends that are about 1.5% of all first and second mortgages compared to what has been historically 1% of all first and second mortgages in foreclosure.
And you, RealtyTrac, you aggregate the information that people kind of really need to know before they invest in foreclosure property. Where do you get that information?
That's correct. We go out, we get it out of public record, and we have a team of abstractors that go out to over 2,500 counties in the U.S., which represents about 74% of all the counties, but 94% of the population.
What do I need to know? Give me a quick laundry list, 3 or 4 things that I need to know before I invest in a foreclosure property.
The most important thing is to do your homework. And what RealtyTrac does is it identifies all of the properties that are in foreclosure, and then it gives you tools to evaluate.
Like what?
And by that, the tools that you would need to evaluate it. The first thing is you need to evaluate what is the amount of the default, and then what is the value of the home. And RealtyTrac appends the foreclosure data with estimated market values, so you can see what the value of the home may be relative to the default amount. The next thing you need to see is you need to be able to see the liens that are outstanding on the property. It's important to know whether there's a first lien, a second lien, or a third lien, and which lien is going into foreclosure. The other things you need to worry about is whether the property has any tax liens or any bankruptcy filings against it. And with all that data, you can begin to assess whether it's a worthwhile property to go out and look at investing in.
This sounds very, potentially profitable to do, but how much risk are people taking on when they buy a foreclosure property?
Like anything else, there's different degrees of risk, and it's a function of when you look at buying the property. There are different stages. If you were to buy a property when the property is in default, you would be negotiating with the homeowner.
Right.
If you wait till it goes to a trustee sale, you're typically going into a bidding situation where you're buying the property as is at the court steps in an auction.
And is that a more motivated seller when you get to that part of the process?
When you're talking about the trustee sale, at that point the homeowner really has lost the property to the lender and to everybody else who will be bidding on the property.
So that's my point. Do you have a much more motivated seller at that point, because they don't want this sitting in their inventory, do they, for very long?
Well, definitely from the standpoint that when the bank forecloses on the property, you definitely have a motivated seller. At the trustee sale, it depends whether you're a first or second lien position. And as an investor, it is a riskier scenario when you're buying at a trustee sale because it's more as is. Investment opportunities seem to be better often if you can negotiate with the homeowner when they're in default.
Interesting. Mr. Saccacio, thanks for joining us today.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Name of the company, RealtyTrac. By the way, tonight...